I had just moved into the old house on the outskirts of town. It was a family heirloom from my great-grandmother, and although it was a bit dilapidated, I was intrigued to make it my home. When I first opened the front door, the creaking sound felt unsettling, as if something was warning me not to enter. I started cleaning the dusty living room, and that's when I found something strange, a dusty old painting in the corner of the room. The painting depicted a group of people in a forest, their faces blurred and indistinct. But there was one detail that made me uneasy. There was a figure in the painting that seemed to be staring directly at me. The first night in the new house was like any other, but something felt off. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, even though I knew I was alone. The sound was clear as I tried to sleep. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was just the house settling into its new environment. The next day, I decided to clean the unused bedroom. Beneath a worn-out rug, I found a small wooden box. Inside were old notes and photographs of a family that seemed very old. One photo caught my eye. It was of a woman with an expression of deep sadness, and on the back was almost unreadable writing. "Don't let her come back." As night fell, I felt increasingly uneasy. I sat in the living room, trying to read the notes from the box, when the lights started flickering. The creaking from the upstairs grew louder, as if someone was walking up there. I decided to check it out, despite the fear gripping me with every step. When I reached the upstairs, I felt an unnatural chill, and the creaking grew louder. I opened the old bedroom door and found the room in disarray, as if someone had recently rifled through it. In the midst of the chaos, I spotted a small note on the desk. It read, "She has come, and she will not leave." My hands trembled, and I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck. I ran out of the room and quickly descended the stairs. But before I could leave the house, I heard a whisper from behind me, as if someone was calling my name softly, but with a tone filled with bitterness and sorrow. I decided to abandon the house, taking only the essentials with me. I felt overwhelmed and terrified, never having felt so threatened in what was supposed to be my new home. I left the keys on the kitchen table and walked away without looking back. As I glanced at the old house from a distance, I saw something in the upstairs window, a face of a woman with the same pained and angry expression as in the photo, staring at me with a sense of torment. Now, every night I can still hear those footsteps, creaking in the hallway and above my new ceiling. No one can explain these phenomena, but I know one thing. Something in that house never truly left. Weeks had passed since I left the old house, but the eerie feeling never seemed to leave me. Each night, as I lay in bed, I could still hear the distant echoes of footsteps and whispers. I tried to rationalize it. Perhaps it was just my mind playing tricks on me, haunted by the memories of that unsettling place. One evening, I received a letter in the mail with no return address. Inside, there was a single, old photograph, the same woman from the painting and the photo I had found in the house. On the back, there was a message scrawled in an unfamiliar hand. "She's waiting for you." My heart raced as I remembered the strange occurrences in the house. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being drawn back. Despite my fear, I felt an inexplicable urge to return to the house and uncover whatever was haunting it. When I arrived at the old house, the front door was ajar, as if inviting me in. I hesitated, but then pushed the door open, the familiar creak sending a shiver down my spine. The house was just as I had left it, but there was an oppressive silence that seemed to hang in the air. I went straight to the old bedroom, where I had found the note. As I entered, I noticed a faint, flickering light coming from under the bed. I knelt down and pulled out a small, dusty lantern. When I lit it, The dim glow revealed more unsettling details: old, worn-out furniture, and a pile of tattered clothing. At the edge of the room, partially hidden behind a large, wooden wardrobe, I found a hidden compartment. Inside was another journal, this one bound in a dark, cracked leather. I opened it cautiously, my hands trembling. The pages were filled with frantic, handwritten entries detailing a series of tragic events: the disappearance of the woman from the photograph, her relentless search for her lost child, and her growing despair as she felt betrayed by her own family. The final entry was a desperate plea: if anyone finds this, know that my spirit is bound here, waiting for someone to free me. My child was taken from me by those who sought to control the darkness within. I need help. I am trapped. As I read the entry, I felt a cold breeze sweep through the room. The lantern flickered violently, casting eerie shadows on the walls. A sudden crash from downstairs made me jump. I hurried out of the room and down the stairs, my heart pounding. In the living room, I saw the old painting from the day I first moved in, now hanging crookedly on the wall. The eyes of the figure in the painting seemed to follow me, filled with a mixture of hope and desperation. The air grew colder, and I could see my breath in the dim light. I decided to investigate the noise and followed it to the basement door, which I had never opened before. With a deep breath, I unlocked the door and descended into the darkness. The basement was filled with old furniture and boxes, but there was something else: an old, decrepit cradle in the corner. The cradle was empty, but next to it lay a small, tattered doll. As I picked up the doll, I felt a heavy presence behind me. I turned slowly, and there she was, the woman from the painting, her ghostly figure appearing translucent but unmistakable. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of sadness and hope. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Free my child." Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind blew through the basement, extinguishing the lantern's light. I felt a wave of cold and darkness envelop me. I stumbled back upstairs, gasping for breath, and slammed the basement door shut. The house was now eerily silent. I left the house for the last time, the weight of the encounter heavy on my shoulders. I knew I couldn't help her on my own, but I also knew that the house held a dark secret that was far beyond my understanding. The whispers and footsteps in my new home seemed to quieten, but the memory of that night lingered, a chilling reminder of the restless spirit that still awaited liberation. As the days turned into weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was profoundly unsettled in my life. I tried to put the haunting experiences behind me, but the memory of the woman's desperate plea and the chilling atmosphere of the old house lingered like a shadow. One night, as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard a faint, familiar whisper in the darkness. "Help me." It was the same voice I had heard in the basement. This time, it seemed closer, more urgent. I realized that I couldn't ignore it any longer. I needed to seek help to truly understand and resolve whatever was binding that spirit to the house. I contacted a local historian and paranormal expert, hoping they could shed light on the mystery and perhaps help to set the restless spirit free. The expert, an elderly woman named Margaret, agreed to visit the house with me. As we walked through the old rooms, Margaret performed a series of rituals and prayers to communicate with the spirit and uncover the truth. We returned to the basement, where Margaret began to speak softly to the air, asking the spirit to reveal itself. The atmosphere grew tense as Margaret spoke, and slowly, the ghostly figure of the woman appeared once again. Her presence was softer now, less menacing. She seemed to have calmed, her expression less sorrowful. Margaret's voice was gentle as she asked the spirit to tell her story. The woman's spirit began to recount her tale, how she had been wronged by those who sought to harness the dark power she had unknowingly stumbled upon, and how her child had been taken from her as part of a sinister ritual. Her anguish had bound her to the house, seeking release. With Margaret's guidance, we performed a cleansing ritual to free the spirit. As we recited the final words, a profound stillness fell over the house. The air felt lighter, and a sense of peace seemed to settle in the rooms. The woman's spirit appeared one last time, her face now serene and relieved. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. "I am free now." As the ritual concluded, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The house, once oppressive and dark, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The oppressive silence was replaced by a calm, gentle atmosphere. I decided to sell the house, but the new owners reported no disturbances. It seemed that the house had finally found peace, and so had I. The experiences had left a mark on me, but I had learned the importance of facing fears and seeking help when needed. The old house on the outskirts of town remained a silent witness to the events that had unfolded within its walls. And though the shadows of the past had been lifted, the story of the woman and her child would always be a part of its history, an eerie reminder of the ties that bind and the power of a restless spirit seeking closure.